Very good evening, everyone. We already started the chapter named Chemical Control and Coordination. And in this chapter, we already talked about the hormones, the source of their secretion, the types of the hormones, and the endocrine glands present in our body. So today I wish to talk about the first gland, that is hypothalamus. In this picture, you can clearly see the location of hypothalamus. Okay, so hypothalamus is a gland which is located in as a part of forebrain, and this gland is very important from both the functions, that it will be helpful from the function of secretion of hormone as well as it is having neural function. That's why we say that the hypothalamus is having neurosecretory cells. Okay, now this hypothalamus is actually controlling the activities of all other hormonal glands. So it is responsible for secretion of three types of hormone. One is releasing hormone, other one is inhibiting hormone, and the third two hormones which are actually secreted by hypothalamus but they are stored in pituitary, so it seems that they are secreted by pituitary. These two hormones are oxytocin and vasopressin. We will talk about oxytocin and vasopressin when we will discuss about pituitary. But let me tell you about these releasing hormone and inhibiting hormone. These releasing hormones are hormones which actually are controlling the secretion of pituitary hormone in a positive way. So if you can see, if this is the part of hypothalamus, these are hypothalamic neuron, and this is the part of pituitary. So this is the anterior pituitary, the orange part, and this yellow part is the posterior pituitary. So anterior pituitary gland is located in below the cerebrum, and the part which is near our forehead or to the front part of our body is called anterior, and the one which is back is known as posterior. Now the circulation, that is the portal circulation, carries blood, but hypothalamus hormones are also carried and stored into posterior pituitary. The releasing hormone will stimulate pituitary in a way that pituitary hormone secretion will increase. For example, there is a hormone like gonadotrophic hormones. So if a male need to secrete testosterone, so that testosterone is secreted by testes. But as we discussed in our last lecture, that hormones are required in very trace amount. So even if for testes, it is very important to have the correct amount. If it is very high or even if it is very low, there will be problem. So who will decide this exact amount? And you know, hormonal treatments are so risky and they are having so much side effects many a times. So how body manage it perfectly without side effect? Because they have police and the upper police to police the police. So how it is done? Pituitary hormones will control the all other hormones. For example, the gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH. Grade 12 students must be knowing about them because they already studied the spermatogenesis process. So this GnRH will go to testes and control the secretion of testosterone. But who will police gonadotropin releasing hormone? The gonadotrophin releasing hormone will stimulate the pituitary gonadotrophin, and pituitary gonadotrophin will go to testes and it will stimulate the testosterone production. So first point of control is gonadotropin releasing hormone secreted by hypothalamus. It will act on gonadotropin secreted by pituitary gland, and now gonadotropin will control the secretion of testosterone from testes. So inhibitory hormone or inhibiting hormone is exactly having opposite function. Nothing is good if it is too much. So obviously, if only releasing hormone is there without the presence of gonadotropin hormone, which is having reverse action, it will be really difficult to control the situation. So inhibiting hormones are inhibiting secretion of pituitary hormone. For example, there is somatotropin, which is known as growth hormone. This growth hormone decides the growth a person should have. So, who will police? That is growth hormone, which decides the growth. The somatostatin, which is an inhibiting hormone secreted by hypothalamus, it will create a balance with somatotropin and somatostatin. So somatostatin will stagnate the growth and somatotropin will promote the growth. So this kind of hormones released by hypothalamus are impacting the pituitary hormones and control their secretion. And as we call pituitary as a master gland, the secretion of pituitary hormone will control the other activities. So we will move ahead. I just wish to show you the location of pituitary gland. In this picture, you can see how it is located, as I told you, below the cerebrum. Okay, so this is the location of pituitary gland. I told you that there is a cavity made up of sphenoid bone, and name of this cavity is sella tarsica, as it is mentioned. And it is attached to hypothalamus with the help of a stalk, or we call this stalk as a infundibulum. So this is the anterior pituitary and this is the posterior pituitary. So we will know about pituitary gland in detail, what are the hormones and what secreted by what. So actually it is an almond shaped gland. As I said, it is attached to hypothalamus via infundibulum. The whole pituitary is mainly divided into adenohypophysis or anterior lobe and neurohypophysis or posterior lobe. Posterior lobe is called neurohypophysis because this doesn't have any kind of secretion. The secretion of hypothalamus, that is oxytocin and vasopressin, is stored here. Adenohypophysis can be further subdivided into pars distillaris, pars tuberalis, and pars intermedia. Whereas neurohypophysis can be subdivided into pars nervosa and infundibulum. Okay, so we will quickly have a look into the structure and try and find out the portions. So you can see this is the anterior part of pituitary. In this anterior part of pituitary, and this is the posterior part. You can see the difference between the two parts of pituitary is mentioned here by the help of a different shade. So this part is pars distalis. This part is called pars intermedia, which is located just between the adenohypophysis, that is anterior pituitary, and posterior pituitary. And this part, the upper part, is called pars distalis. It is shown here like this. This part is also pars distalis, and this part is also pars distalis. Whereas in case of posterior pituitary, this is the infundibulum through which it is attached to the hypothalamus, and this is pars nervosa. So parts of pituitary is clear. Can someone show me the thumbs up, or if you are understanding it properly? If any question is there, kindly raise your hand. Yes, Saloni, you can speak better. Okay, everyone is so we will move ahead. So let's have a look into different types of hormones secreted by pituitary gland. So as I told you, the location is sella tarsica chamber, and if we talk about the different hormones secreted by them, first we will talk about the hormones of adenohypophysis. Okay, so adenohypophysis is having a part called pars distalis. So these are responsible for secretion of first hormone that we already talked about, that is called somatotrophy. All of us know that trophy means growth, or trophy means nutrition. Why? We call them autotrophs. So who are autotrophs? Trophos means growth and nutrition, because whosoever produce their own food by their own cells, we call them autotrophs, isn't it? So somatotrophin, somato means body cell, that is also is known to us. So growth hormone or somatotrophin is promoting growth of our somatic cells. Who are somatic cells? Somatic cells are cells which are called body cells. That means they are responsible to construct the body. So these cells are present everywhere. So the hormone somatotrophin is responsible for acting in all parts of our body, because whenever we grow, it's not the situation that our one hand is growing and other one is not. Whole body grows together. Okay, so area of action, that's why is all tissue. So what is the function? As the name suggests, its main function is to stimulate growth and development. So obviously, if there is less secretion of somatotrophin, we will have dwarfism. That means what will happen? The person will have short height. I hope everyone must have seen the dwarf people in circus or somewhere around us. So that is due to action of somatotrophin, where secretion is less. So apart from that, this dwarfism is generally observed in small children, and as they grow, the height doesn't increase. If in adult, in normal adult, there is hyposecretion, the disease that is caused is called acromicra. So what is acromicra? Micra word will remind you that it is due to small, something small, and it is due to hyposecretion. They will have small limb, face and nose. As compared with the body structure, the limbs, that is the legs will be small, the hands will be small, the face will be small. So it will be altogether a very different kind of structure. Whereas if we have hypersecretion, that means more secretion, it will be opposite to dwarfism, that we call gigantism. Here the children will have huge bones of their hands, legs, big nose, big forehead, big lower jaw, and due to fast and big growth of bone, the bones are not properly nourished. So bones are deformed. If it is still visible in case of adults, we call the same disease as acromegaly. And here also enlargement of hand, leg, nose, face, lower jaw grows so much that it protrude out, and Lips are thick. Have you ever seen Dalip Singh Rana? खली? खली को देखा है किसी ने? I think none of you have seen him. I'll show you his photo. He is having acromegaly. And he was a WWF champion. You will recognize him very easily because you must have seen him in so many movies and all. Do you recognize him, this person? Great Khali. See, this is the characteristics of acromegaly. We call them gigantic. But they are not very fit because they are having bone deformities. Okay, so he is having typical characteristics. See, as compared with like normal human being, how big they are. Okay, you can see the comparison. But they are having deformed face and deformed thing. So you can understand that if a person decides how the disadvantage can be converted into advantages. So we will go to the next hormone secreted by this adenohypophysis pars distalis, that is thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. In short, it is also called as thyrotropin. Why we use this word somatotropin, thyrotropin? Because it means these are the hormones secreted by pituitary, but they are going to other target organ or target cells, and further they are stimulating them to secrete. I am once again repeating this line. So these are the hormones secreted by pituitary. They will go somewhere else and they will affect the other endocrine gland to secrete their necessary substance. For example, this TSH, thyrotropin, is responsible to stimulate thyroid gland. So what will happen? If there is excess secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone, the thyroid gland will be excited and stimulate the secretion of it. Next is prolactin. This is actually not functional in normal cases. Post pregnancy, during the later stages after childbirth or later stages of pregnancy, due to efficiency of this hormone, like the mammary glands of females get developed and there is formation of milk production post pregnancy. So in normal case situation, the amount of prolactin produced in our case, the female's case, is almost zero. But as there is pregnancy, this is a hormone which will make sure that immediately after birth of child, mother should produce a special milk which is known as colostrum, and this milk is very much needed for child to have the immunity. Later on, this will continue producing milk till the time child is drinking. So fourth hormone is ACTH. The full form is adrenocorticotropic hormone. Do not get scared with their name. Try and understand, it will be very easy. ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormones, means this is a trophic hormone which is going to act on adrenal cortex. That's why we are calling it adrenocorticotropic hormone. Okay, so it will act on adrenal cortex and stimulate the secretion of adrenal cortex hormone. Next one is luteinizing hormone. This hormone is having another name, that is called ICSH. Grade 12 students can immediately remember them because interstitial cells are cells of testes of male which are responsible for secretion of what? What is secreted by interstitial cells? Grade 12 students, any one of you can answer?
Androgens.
That is very good. Testosterone. So ICSH is responsible for secretion of testosterone or androgen, and this testosterone or androgen secretion is on the other hand controlled by luteinizing hormone or ICSH. Then there is follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone is acting on female reproductive system. In female ovary, there are small pouches called Graafian follicle. They work on them, and this induce ovulation. All of you must be knowing that females are born with the eggs. After puberty, every month one egg will come out of the this follicles, Graafian follicles, and this method of releasing egg is known as ovulation. So every month one egg will be released from ovary, and it will wait for sperm to fertilize. If it is fertilizing, it's all right, then child will be there. If not, in that case there will be menstrual cycle. So this releasing of ovum, that is female egg, from the ovary is ovulation, and it is controlled by follicle stimulating hormone. This luteinizing hormone or ICSH or the follicle stimulating hormone is also known as gonadotrophin. Why they are known as gonadotrophin? You will understand very easily. Thyrotrophin was working on thyroid gland. ACTH, that is adrenal corticotrophic hormone, was working on adrenal cortex. So gonadotrophin will work on gonads because the female and male reproductive organs are called gonads. So adenohypophysis doesn't have only the pars distalis, it has pars intermedia also. So in us, it is not at all well developed, but in case of animals, there is secretion of MSH by pars intermedia, and it is controlling the melanin content of their body. Although we have melanin in our cell, but in our case, the melanocyte cells are not stimulated by this hormone because it is not secreted in us. Okay. So after adenohypophysis, next we will talk about the posterior hypophysis. As I mentioned earlier, that this doesn't secrete something, it is simply storing the the hormone secreted by hypothalamus. Two hormones are secreted. One is oxytocin. Oxytocin is also known as birth hormone. Why? Because at the time of childbirth, vagina, which is a very small place, and the child present inside uterus, which is a muscular sac, the child needs to be pushed so that it can come out of the female's womb via vagina. So you can understand this pushing is not easy. Why? There should be a proper pushing, not so hard that the child will get suffocated, not so soft that the child will remain inside mother's womb. So it's a process. It needs to be controlled. And this vaginal contraction, which is helpful for birth of child, is responsible for this oxytocin hormone. Let me tell you, beta, this vaginal contraction is very much required. Nowadays, in many cases, cesarean or C-section is done, and in many cases, improper development of milk is observed in mothers, and then they need to take injections and others. Actually, during this birth, the secretion of oxytocin will ensure that there will be proper bonding of child and mother, and it controls the milk production, because when oxytocin is secreted, the prolactin is getting a sense that now the mother is giving birth to the child, so now I need to work on production of milk. At ADH, grade 11, 12, both of you know now that it is a hormone. The full form is antidiuretic hormone. It's also known as vasopressin. So antidiuretic hormone is secreted by this posterior part of pituitary. Now the role of this is to control the reabsorption of water in Henle loop. We know that kidney, there is nephron, and in nephron there is a part called Henle loop responsible for reabsorption of water. So when we obtain the glomerular filtrate, it is 180 liter per day, but we produce 1.5 to max 2 liter urine. So this 178 liter will go where? It will get reabsorbed. Okay. And this reabsorption, how much reabsorption should be there, is controlled by whom? The ADH. Why they should be controlled? Straightforward, there can be reabsorption. We don't drink water always. Some people are not good. They don't drink adequate amount of water. Some people are thinking too much and drinking too much water. Understood? So this difference is there everywhere. So obviously, depending on the water amount we are having, the ADH will control the reabsorption. So if in system too much water is there, then that can allow some water to go. So urine will be a dilute one. Whereas if we are having scarcity of water, in that situation, we cannot allow the to lose water, because then we will have dehydration. So ADH secretion will increase and it will control the reabsorption of water. So if there is less secretion of ADH, there will be a disease called diabetes insipidus. It is also known as polyuria. As there will be less secretion, so what will be the result? As a result, there will be a problem in urination. There will be too much frequent urination. Too much frequent urination will be there, which is problematic. Okay. So anyone, any doubts regarding pituitary gland? You can see the beautiful pictures depicting the different disorders. You can see one person with gigantism, Sultan Kosar, who is 8 feet 1 inches long, and one dwarf person. His name was He Ping Ping. So he is 2 feet 5.37 inches. So this is a beautiful picture which will clarify your idea how hypo and hyper secretion of the same hormone can give two extremes. So this is the structure of acromegaly. You can see how face deformities is visible. The portion on which prolactin work, that is the mammary gland. This is the thyroid gland where thyroid stimulating hormone act. And on kidney, the adrenal gland is present on which the ACTH will work. And let me tell you, the follicle stimulating hormone work on Graafian follicles. So this is this pink structure is ovary, and inside which this is the matured Graafian follicle, and you can see how they rupture to release the eggs. So this is how follicle stimulating or hormone act. And inside testes there is the cells which is called interstitial cells, which is responsible for controlling the sperm production by secretion of testosterone. And This is the pars intermedia. Once again, I am showing you the part tubularис, distalis, pars intermedia. So in this part, melanocyte cell stimulating hormone are there, which are present not only not in us, it is mostly present in animals. And this is oxytocin, which is called birth hormone, and this is vasopressin or ADH. You know, oxytocin and vasopressin, just to give them a matching name, they are also called pitocin and pitressin. As they are pair of hormones secreted from same part, that's why we also call them as pitocin and pitressin. Okay, so now we will talk about the next gland. I'm moving ahead. I am going ahead with the hormones of hypothalamus because we already discussed about them. So in this table, you can see a small glimpses of releasing factor. We have thyroid stimulating hormone releasing factor, ACTH releasing factor, somatotrophin releasing factor, somatostatin, gonadotrophin hormone releasing factor, FSH releasing factor, then LH releasing factor, or prolactin releasing factor, prolactin inhibiting factor, and MSH releasing factor. So basically all hormones secreted by pituitary are having one hormone to control, that is secreted by the hypothalamus gland. So now we will talk about the next important gland, that is pineal gland. It is located just below the corpus callosum. So what is corpus callosum? Corpus callosum is a nerve bundle which is joining the left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere. I wish to show you the location of this gland. So it is located just here, the position where we are supposed to have a third eye, and it is the smallest endocrine gland, and it is located at the dorsal side, that is the front part of forebrain, below the corpus callosum. So how it works? The function of the corpus callosum, the gland located near corpus callosum, that is pineal gland, is to secrete the hormone called melatonin. So melatonin is a hormone which is acting on our whole body, and it is controlling the biological clock. See, you must have heard about a word called jet lag. If a person who is going to any other country which is having time gap, for example Canada or maybe USA, so due to this time gap they will have some problem. Why? You don't know. Even if we don't see the clock, it is observed that our body will feel sleepy during night time. Many experiments were done in this aspect by keeping a person into darkness, under light and everything. It is observed that light obviously is having a role to control the sleep-wake cycle. But apart from that, our body is having a own clock, which is called biological clock, which will decide that this is the time I need to wake up and this is the time I need to sleep. It is said that it takes almost 21 days to disturb this sleep wake cycle. Any kind of habit, it requires 21 to 3 months, days to 3 months, depending on person to change. So it controls the sleep wake cycle. That's why person who is traveling from America to India, for example, one of my friend is staying in Florida. That day I was talking to her sometime around 6:37, and at that time it was 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So when she went there, at that time she must be having problem. She is not having proper sleep. So the person's body get tired, and we call it as a jet lag. But slowly and habitually, the body's biological clock will adapt, and the person will get accustomed with the time zone of that specific area. Again, now if she is returning back to India, she will have a jet lag. So apart from this sleep-wake cycle, it controls the temperature, it controls the metabolism, the skin pigmentation, menstrual cycle indirectly, and it is also responsible to control the self-defense ability. We don't know why Hindu gods are having one eye over here. That is a question, because at that time no X-ray or nothing was available. How they knew that such an important organ is present over here? So after pineal gland, we will talk about the next gland, that is called thyroid gland. Okay, so thyroid gland is also a very important gland. It is located in the just by two sides of our trachea. So it's a bilobed gland. Why bilobed? One lobe is present at one side, other lobe is presented at one side, and these two lobes are connected by a tissue called isthmus. So have you ever heard about this isthmus word? Try and find out where you heard about similar word. So it is made up of small pouches which are called follicle, and these follicles are connected to each other via loose connective tissue, and this connective tissue is called stromal tissue. So how they must be looking? These follicles are made up of, their membranes are made up of small round shaped structures. So if you look at them, the membranes are made up of small round structures like this, and encased by these round structures are the cells which are responsible for production of the thyroid hormones. Okay, so pink color represents the cell, and outside cell layer is represented by red small cells. So the main important thing is, for production of thyroid hormone, iodine is must. So thyroid hormone is something which is having iodine as a constituent particle. जैसे hemoglobin बनाने के लिए you will be requiring iron, वैसे ही chlorophyll बनाने के लिए you will be requiring magnesium. Similarly, in the formula of these thyroid hormones, the iodine is must. So we need to make sure that our diet is having enough amount of iodine. That's why, you know, they use the word that vacuum evaporize iodine salt. So iodine should be in correct amount in the salt, because we cannot eat iodine otherwise. We obtain it from the point of view of salt only. So what are the secretion of this specific gland? Because it is the largest gland in our body. Thyroid gland is largest gland in our body. Actually, it is pancreas, but pancreas is having two parts. It is having exocrine and endocrine gland. So whole pancreas we cannot consider like that. So if we are talking about only endocrine gland, then the largest gland is thyroid. So it is having secretion of triiodothyronine or tetraiodothyronine. Tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine hormone is known as T4. Why it is called T4? Tetraiodothyronine, because 4 iodine particles or atoms are required. And triiodothyronine is known as T3 because 3 iodine particles are there. So how it is they are working? They will control the basal metabolic rate. So do you know what is BMR? BMRs is something which is the basic metabolic rate of a person. You must have noticed one thing, that one of your friend is eating so many things, but the person is never getting fat. And आप कब से 1.5 रोटी 2 रोटी खा के dieting कर रहे हो, but still you are getting fat. So sometimes we feel bad कि यार ये इंसान इतना खाता है, मतलब if like many of my friends are there, when I'm sitting by their side, if we two are eating together, you will feel कि मैम ने उसकी थाली ले ली और उसने मैम की थाली ले ली हो, थोड़ी ना इतनी पतली सी लड़की इतना खाती होगी, but it's true. So that is due to BMR. When we exercise, we do workout, our BMR level increase. So if our BMR level is increased, then the food get digested easily and the body is not absorbing the extra fat. But this BMR of body is controlled by the thyroxine hormone. Apart from that, it is also very much helpful for formation of RBC. The erythropoiesis process or the formation of RBC is supported by this thyroxine hormone. It also controls the metabolism of carbohydrate, protein and fat, and it is responsible for maintaining the electrolyte balance. That is, how much water should be there in body. In this much water, how much electrolytes should be there. So what are these electrolytes? They are nothing but ions. Now grade 11 students also know that how sodium and potassium ion concentration is important. You know it? What is the importance of sodium and potassium ion? What will happen if we don't have enough of them? Class, grade 11 students, anyone?
Ma'am, they are helpful in nerve impulse.
Yes, nerve impulse transmission. Apart from that, sodium is responsible for urine formation also. NaCl concentration is maintained during urine formation also. So there are so many things. So this balance, all of them are done by these two hormones. Now, obviously, if they are having such impactful factors, their more secretion or less secretion will be hazardous for us. So if there is hypothyroidism, so hypothyroidism means there will be less secretion of thyroid. So first disease that comes in our mind is goiter. So what is goiter? If we are not having enough iodine in our food, then the gland will try to absorb maximum iodine present. So what is the way of increasing absorption? कैसे हम absorption बढ़ा सकते हैं? After studying so many systems, you know that how we can increase the functionability of something. By increasing what? We can increase absorption?
Surface area.
Very good. So similar way, to increase the surface area of iodine absorption, the thyroid gland will enlarge. And then now you cannot see my thyroid gland because it is normal. I am taking proper iodine, it proves. But if I am not taking, then it will be visible from outside. The protrusion will be visible and we call it as goiter. Okay. There can be cretinism. This is caused especially in women. Actually, it is not harmful for women. If a woman is not taking proper diet during pregnancy, then the child will not have proper growth. The growth of child will be slow and there will be mental retardation, low intelligence quotient. The skin will be thick and child will be almost like they don't have very effective sense organ, auditory response. Okay. And if we have a female is suffering from cretinism, then the female can have irregular menstrual cycle. But cretin word is generally used for children. and you will feel bad to see those children. Generally, in India, pregnancy, the only thing that is very important to feed is ghee, which doesn't contain protein, doesn't contain iodine. So many a times, due to lack of knowledge, these important things are not supplied to mother, and mother suffers. So you can understand how iodine concentration during pregnancy, iron concentration during pregnancy, protein adequate amount is required by female and responsible for proper growth of fetus. So we will talk about the fourth hypothyroidism disease, that is called mixed edema. Uh, this is causing weakness or lethargy. I am sure many of you are now this point thinking, okay, am I having mixed edema? Because many of you must be feeling lethargy. There आज class नहीं है, थोड़ा ज्यादा सो लेते, कल होमवर्क करेंगे, कल करेंगे. So don't worry, that is natural. It's not symptoms of mixed edema, because mixed edema is not only characterized by the lethargy, it is characterized by non-responsiveness. The person is not having that quickness to respond to the stimuli. The person will feel cold. There will be low body temperature. And why it is called mixed edema? Because the word edema means swelling. EDEMA, mixed edema means edema means swelling. So there will be swelling in the body, especially in the face, tongue, the legs, and as the body parts are swelled, the person will have difficulty in breathing. So when we study about disease, many a time we scan, am I suffering from this? Don't worry, none of you must be suffering. Next is hyperthyroidism. Actually, if there is cancer in the thyroid gland, it may result into hyperthyroidism. But there can be exophthalmic goiter. This is a special type of goiter which is caused by hypersecretion of these thyroid hormones. There will be fast heartbeat. A person will lose weight, and there will be bulging eyeball. It will feel always like this, that a person is at very angry face and looking at you with anger. So we will quickly look into the diseases. So you can see here the goiter. See how the neck part is protruded, and these are creatine child with deformed body structure, you can see in them, and the growth is stunted, mental retardation and other things are there, and this is exophthalmic goiter. Can you see how scary is this? This person will always look like this. It looks as if a horror movie. This exophthalmic goiter is also known as Graves' disease. Okay, and this is the case where thyroid gland is taken out, and it is because cancer nodules are found. Okay, so we will get back. See, in this Graves' disease, there will be anxiety and irritability, and there is the finger of the hand will be almost shaky. The person will have too much feeling of cold or hot, and there will be goiter, obviously, and menstrual cycle pattern will be changed. So apart from these T3 and T4, there is another hormone secreted by thyroid gland that is known as TCT or thyrocalcitonin. Its name itself is having the secret. This is acting on blood and bone. So what it does, it regulates the calcium level in blood and bone. In bone, there we know that everyone know that bone is having calcium. So the cells of bone, that is osteoblast, they will be requiring calcium, and this calcium is supplied to them via blood. So when these osteoblast will absorb calcium, the calcium level in blood is less. And when they don't absorb, the calcium level of blood is more. But do you think calcium level of blood is more is hazardous? Yes, it will be hazardous, not only for blood but also for bone. A person, if he, in case of whom the osteoblast is not taking the adequate amount of what I can say, calcium, in that case, what will happen? The bones will be weak. The person's bone can be broken very easily. So hyposecretion of these thyrocalcitonin is responsible for low blood calcium level, and it is known as hypocalcemia. And this, in this case, the phosphate level will increase in body, and it will cause severe muscle contraction. So the muscles unnecessarily get contracted, a person will feel enough pain. Whereas hypersecretion will cause increase in calcium level in the blood. It will be responsible for weakening of the bone, and bones can get fractured very easily. So we studied up to this. Now I wish all of you to have a look into your textbook and let me know if you have any doubt. If you want to ask any portion, if you want to repeat me about that information of that portion, you can. So our next gland of discussion is parathyroid gland, and they are 4 in number, and they are flat oval structure. So if you look into the location of parathyroid gland, I just wish to show you how they look. These red patches are nothing but the parathyroid gland. These 4. They are located in association with the thyroid gland, and they secrete hormone which is called parathyroid hormone or PTH. Let us know how parathyroid hormone is very much important for us. So they are present at the posterior side of pituitary or at the back side of pituitary, posterior side of the thyroid gland. And parathyroid hormone is also acting on blood and bone. So it increases the calcium level in blood and stimulate the process of bone reabsorption. That is, this will increase the level of calcium in blood, means from where this calcium will come, it will be coming from bone. So you can see the activity of thyrocalcitonin and parathormone or parathyroid hormone. They are antagonistic. Thyrocalcitonin is regulating blood calcium level. How it is regulating? It is lowering the calcium level of blood. How? By increasing the calcium level in the bone. It is increasing the calcium level in the bone by reabsorption of calcium from the blood to bone. And in case of parathormone, it is having exactly opposite function. It is known as for increasing the calcium level in blood and it is causing dissolution or demineralization. So it also stimulates the absorption of calcium by renal tubules. During the urine formation also, the absorption of calcium is not that important, but from digested food the calcium must be absorbed, and that is done by digestive blood vessels. You know that the villi is having full of blood vessels which may absorb some part of calcium. It is also acting as a hypercalcemic hormone. In this case, it is hypocalcemic. Here it is hypercalcemic. Okay, so these two hormones are called antagonistic hormone. That means one is increasing blood calcium level, another is decreasing the blood calcium level. The one which is increasing blood calcium level is decreasing bone calcium level, and the one which is decreasing blood calcium level will increase the bone calcium level. So what will be occurring in hyposecretion? In hyposecretion, there will be low calcium level in blood. So what will happen? Tissue will lose calcium, and the increase of muscle and nerve excitability will be there, which will cause convulsion and clamps. So there will be people having similar symptoms of tetany. The muscular spasm will be observed. The muscles will go for contraction mode, because you know calcium and how important it is for muscular contraction. Hypersecretion, if it is there, that means most of the calcium present in bone will go to blood. In that case, the bone will be soft, they will be bent, they can be easily get fractured, and there will be creation of spongy bones everywhere. That means bones will have holes in them. And then if bones are having holes in them, we call that as osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is the condition when bones will have the pores in them. Wish to share with you the diseases. So this flow chart is quite well describing the maintenance of homeostasis of calcium in body. So you can see here the whole process briefed very nicely. So next gland of discussion is, after parathyroid, is thymus gland. Generally this gland is non-existing in adults, and it is present only in case of children. And as we age, the size of thymus gland is reduced, and once it is diminished. So it is a lobular structure, and it is also bilobed and full of lymphoid tissue, because this is the gland where which plays prominent role in our immune system. So as we grow old, our immune system gets weak. Okay, so where it is located at the front part of heart, that is the dorsal side of heart, and it is located near the aorta. The hormone secreted by it is thymosin. The thymosin is acting on immune system of our body, and it is helpful for differentiation of a cell which is called T cell. For grade 11 student, it is new. For grade 12 students, they know because they studied about T cell. So they actually are responsible for killing cancer cells. They are responsible for killing virally infected cells. And as all parts of immune systems are correlated with each other, so this thymosin hormone not only act on T cells, they are indirectly working on the antibody producing cells, because one type of T cell, that is T helper cell, is connecting between antibody producing B cells and the other parts of immune system. So we like lose the thymus once we are growing old. So you can see the location of thymus gland. This is the location of thymus gland. And this is the structure. It has two lobes. And you can see in newborn, this is the size. Up to 25 years, it is almost reduced to half. And in 50 years, this is the condition. And in 70 years, this is the condition. That's why for any kind of disorders, it is suggested that for old people, we should be always careful and we should not take extra risk. So we will now talk about the very important gland, that is adrenal gland. And whole adrenal gland, which is also known as suprarenal gland, can be subdivided into two layers. Outermost one is cortex and inner part is medulla. So first we will talk about cortex and hormones secreted by adrenal cortex. And then we will talk about medulla. So adrenal gland is in a pair. It is acting as a cap of kidney. So just by the top part of kidney, this is how the kidney is located, and on the top of it, as like a cap, it is located. So they are yellowish brown and made up of two layers. As I mentioned, adrenal cortex is the external form, and I already mentioned that it is derived from mesoderm. This adrenal cortex can be further subdivided into zona reticularis, as the name itself is suggested that it is having a network-like fashion. That's why we are using this word reticularis, and zona means zone. So it is having net-like fashion with arranged cells. So it is the innermost layer of cortex. Then zona fasciculata, it is the middle layer. So we are going from inside to outside of cortex. So it is the widest layer or the most prominent layer of cortex. And last is zona glomerulosa. It is the outermost layer, and it is further can be subdivided into 5 layers. You don't have to know the names of these further divisions, but you need to be understanding that hormones are secreted by all these layers. Commonly we call them corticoids. So let us see what are the corticoids. The cortex region is secreting these hormones. That's why they are called corticoids. So the corticoids which are controlling the mineral concentration in our body, we call them mineralocorticoids. It has another name also, aldosterone. So it cannot be any part. Whole body is affected by this. So it regulates the electrolyte balance. That means how much ions should be there, how much water should be there is decided by them. So it is most important for maintenance of sodium ion concentration, potassium ion concentration, phosphate ion concentration, and Obviously, if we can maintain the concentration of iron, it is helpful for many processes. Like now only you said about the transmission of impulse, which is controlled by Na plus and K plus ion. Apart from that, we maintain a specific osmotic concentration of our body. Blood is having a specific viscosity to maintain the pressure. All these are done by these mineralocorticoids. So if there is hyposecretion, there will be Addison's disease. Here also there will be weight loss. A person will not feel like eating, loss of appetite will be there. There will be fatigue. The skin will suddenly start getting dark. Blood pressure will be low. Why? Because as the electrolytes amount will be low, blood pressure will be low. There will be longing for salt. You will feel like eating salt. Low blood sugar level will be there. A person may have vomiting like sensation, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. If there is hyperpersecretion, we call it aldosteronism also, then in that case, the situation also not be very good, and it will be causing problem in the sense that there will be increase in blood pressure. The blood pressure will be too much, and that will be hazardous for a person. A person can have damage of circulatory system and other parts. Okay. The adrenal medulla is lying at the central part of adrenal gland, and it is derived from ectoderm. Strangely, the outer part from mesoderm and inner from ectoderm. But it is responsible to secrete glucocorticoids, which is known as cortisol. Its main role is to act on whole body and immune system. They control the, why they are called glucocorticoids, because they control the metabolism of carbohydrate, protein and fat. Now you may have one question कि मैम अगर ये glucocorticoids है, then why protein and fat? Grade 12 students already must be knowing. You will know when we will study about respiration that proteins and fats can be also converted into carbohydrates, and they can be utilized during respiration. That's why these three metabolisms are not separate. Their metabolism are interconnected very much. So this cortisol will stimulate the liver for synthesis of carbohydrate. So it will make sure that from non-carbohydrate sources like amino acids and glycerol, the carbohydrates will be formed, and this process is known as gluconeogenesis. Okay, and apart from that, it will inhibit the cellular uptake and utilization of amino acid. Why? Because if amino acids are not available, then how will you convert them into glucose? So first thing that is required is to stop the uptake of amino acid. It is also involved in the maintenance of proper function of kidney as well as our heart. So if there is hypersecretion, there is a disease which is called Cushing syndrome, which will cause weight gain, and there will be fatty tissue deposit. It is particularly in the midsection, that is upper back, in the face, between the shoulder. We call it buffalo hump. Buffalo में जैसे hump होता है, at this part there will be excess deposition of fat to cause a hump. There will be development of pink or purple stretch mark in the skin, because sudden increase in the body weight will stretch the skin, and there will be stretch marks, and skins will be very thin. Obviously they will be very delicate, so there will be presence of bruises and others. Apart from that, this cortisol is producing anti-inflammatory response. That means if there is too much inflammation, allergy or pain, This will subside the pain and it stimulates the production of RBC. Not only mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids, it has sex corticoids or androgen. They work on male-female reproductive system, and this will promote the secondary sexual character, because this is actually acting as dehydroxy epiandrosterone, because it is acting as the precursor of testosterone and estrogen. So if this is stopped, then obviously the testosterone and estrogen will not be produced. So if there is hypersecretion, then in males, so we can see the beard and mustache. In case of females also, you can see such things. We will quickly look into the adrenal medulla hormones. These are adrenaline and non-adrenaline, very much known to you. So we can quickly finish. They also work on whole body, and they are hormones whose structure are known as catecholamine. And they are not secreted always. Whenever we are in a stress or condition, for example, a dog is running behind me, or there is some kind of danger, like fall in blood pressure, fall in sugar level, suddenly if we miss a breath, heartbeat is irregular. In such condition, the medulla release this hormone. So it is also known as flight or fight, because they will increase the alertness, they will increase the dilate the pupil so that maximum light can be absorbed. They can cause piloerection, that means हमारे जो body के hairs है, they will get straight, and apart from that they will increase heartbeat, increase the rate of respiration. Obviously for respiration, if it is increasing, we require more respiratory substrate, so they promote the breakdown of glycogen, because in our body carbohydrate is stored in the form of glycogen. So that's why it is increasing the glycogen breakdown so that we can get enough glucose, and it is stimulating the breakdown of lipids and proteins also. So we will stop here. Quickly, I will show you the structure of adrenal gland. So this yellow part is cortex and it is medulla. This is the location of adrenal gland and cortex and medulla part. So 3 layers are described here. Outside zona glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis. Glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and sex corticoids or androgenic corticoids secreted by cortex, and you know their functions. So, and this is Addison disease symptom. You can see that adrenal medulla is causing sudden alertness in us. So we will discuss about pancreas in our next lecture. Today till this much only. Anyone, any doubts? So then bye to all of you. We will meet in our next lecture.